Hello everyone, this is AndresRestart, and today we are talking about how Nintendo teased what could be Mario Kart World's biggest, last, final surprise. So we got the Mario Kart World Direct just a couple days ago, and there was certainly a lot of conversation about how great this Direct was. But a couple days ago, I did put out my analysis pointing out that there are some really interesting subtle things that the Direct did reveal. However, one thing in particular that I made note of was how that they did tease what appears to be a Rainbow Road in the game. But this Rainbow Road, this little tease, I believe is far more than just one more track. It's bigger than that. And today I want to break down why exactly this is actually a bigger deal than some people may realize. And once we get to play this game on June 5th, when the Switch 2 comes out, we're in for a really nice, lovely surprise. Which also, by the way, hopefully by that point, I have reached my goal of 50,000 subscribers, so if you find yourself enjoying my content, your subscription would be greatly appreciated. But let's now get into what may be going on here. So in Mario Kart World, the game is broken down into three big awesome modes. There's Grand Prix mode, which we've seen from prior games, but it's been changed dramatically. There is Knockout Tour, and then there's Free Roam. We still have things like versus and battles and time trials and online play and local play, that's all there. But these three modes, including Grand Prix, are something different, because they all take place within this open world of Mario Kart World. With Free Roam, you're allowed to explore the entire map and enjoy different secrets and missions and such. In Knockout Tour, there are 8 different cups that you can pick from, each one being a different route that goes through the map, and as you progress through each track, 4 racers are eliminated. And then with the newly revamped Grand Prix mode, the first race, like prior Mario Kart games, you enjoy your 3 laps, but then afterwards, instead of spawning into the next track, you actually follow up where you finished off and drive over to the next track as part of the next race. They turn the last 3 races of the Grand Prix into bigger races with segments. The typical 3 laps have been done away for most of the tracks. Now this is an option in Versus, but during Grand Prix, this is how it goes. You drive from one track to another, and that is part of the race. But what's very interesting about Grand Prix mode is that we only have 7 cups. You would think we would have the traditional 8, but Special Cup, a cup we've seen in many different Mario Kart games, is not here for now. And we don't even have our typical 32 tracks. You would think with 7 cups you would see 28 tracks, 4 for each cup, but actually, when you count them out, we have 29, and at least with one of those tracks, Crown City, it is used in 2 different Grand Prix. You race through it from a different angle at a different time of day. So it may ultimately still feel like an entirely different race, but this does shake things up quite a bit. Because, at least in the case of Grand Prix mode, Crown City effectively functions as 2 different tracks. We do know that there's at least one more track, and of course that is some form of Rainbow Road. Before the Mario Kart World Direct, Nintendo's official site from Korea actually accidentally revealed something that looks like Rainbow Road on the map. And it takes place in this bay where there's a giant bridge spanning across it just south of Peach's Stadium, where we see the Mushroom Kingdom Castle, which is also east of Crown City, by the way. Now that was taken down, but during the Mario Kart World Direct, Nintendo did make sure to tease that once you beat all the current known cups, a special colorful track will appear. Clearly, they are teasing the Rainbow Road that was leaked by Nintendo of Korea, and of course there is some form of Rainbow Road in Mario Kart, because that's always like the big final track in a game. And at first, I thought this would just be it, because with the understanding of where Rainbow Road would be, taking a look at the map, there's actually a really nice symmetry here. We have 3 tracks on the left, then the next column over it's 4, then 5, then 6 once you unlock Rainbow Road, it's under Peach's Castle, and then 5 again, then 4, then 3. It's symmetrical, it works. And with the understanding of how we already have some tracks that can be used again just by taking a different route through it at a different time of day, like with Crown City, I sort of assumed that once you get all these cups, yes, you unlock Rainbow Road, and also at the same time unlock Special Cup, and this time with Special Cup, you do end the cup on Rainbow Road, but in order to get there you have to race through from other tracks. But thinking it through just a bit more, I'm not sure it's going to be handled exactly like this. Because consider this for a moment, we know from the Nintendo of Korea leak where the Rainbow Road is located, in the middle of the bay, south of Peach's Castle, east of Crown City. And we already know that Crown City is used more than once, and it's right there connecting to the bridge that goes right under Rainbow Road, and there's also a Grand Prix that has both Peach's Castle or Peach's Stadium and Crown City. We already have a couple Grand Prix that take place in this area, specifically Shell Cup that covers all the tracks around the bay. So with the Special Cup, yeah, maybe there's another track we race through again, perhaps Peach's Stadium again. But what other tracks would we be racing through? Are we going to race through Crown City for a third time? Or are the other 3 races going to be other reused tracks? If you do it once within a Grand Prix, going at it from a different angle, different time of day, it can make sense, it can feel like a different race. But if you do this 3 times, when you already have a track like Crown City that's been reused in that same area, it starts to seem a little unlikely to me that this is the direction they're going to go. Instead, I would not be surprised if this Rainbow Road is bigger than your typical Rainbow Road. Considering the current structure for the Grand Prix, I would not be surprised if what we end up doing is a Rainbow Road that's far more grand, that may even span multiple tracks. It will count as one on the map, so you still maintain the symmetry. Each of the 4 races may be a different part of a Rainbow Road, or possibly it's not even just Rainbow Road. And Special Cup is its own thing that doesn't even really take place on the map of Mario Kart World, but in space, towards the sky. It becomes more grand. This is always how Rainbow Road has worked. Rainbow Road has always taken place in the sky, where you see the rest of the Mario Kart World as you're racing through the Rainbow Road. And so they might make it more of a grander thing, where we can see and enjoy the different parts of Mario Kart World as we're racing far above it on this massive track that's segmented not just into lapped sections, but entire race sections. And this could be the entirety of the Special Cup. This to me makes more sense than just making Rainbow Road one of 4 races in the Grand Prix Cup of Special Cup that we unlock, and then they just have us reusing 3 other races in the map around that area, especially when one of those tracks in that area, Crown City, has been used more than once. And this would make sense. Rainbow Road Special Cup is supposed to be that final climactic cup. It's supposed to feel grand, spectacular, and new. If they're just reusing a whole bunch of things, that would kind of feel quite the opposite. So I do find myself leaning in this direction when we consider the structure of Mario Kart World, how the map works, which tracks have been reused, the location of Rainbow Road, and how grand it should be alongside a Special Cup. I think they're going for something bigger here. But let's now address the counter arguments. Because right now I'm really talking about how Grand Prix are different now, the structure of the games are different now, these races bleed into each other. It would really make sense for Rainbow Road to be this bigger sectioned off massive course to fill up the entirety of Special Cup, but there are some things that might suggest otherwise. So firstly, if Rainbow Road is bigger to the point where it can be considered like more than one track, then that might take a little bit away from the symmetry we have on the map. It seems like their intention is to have 30 icons for different tracks on the map, going back to what I was talking about earlier. From left to right in columns, 3, 4, 5, 6, 5, 4, 3. And so they may be going for a neat 30, and they only want to have 30 track names for this game, at least for the base game. But what may be an even stronger counter argument is that when you look at the Crown City situation, how it takes place in 2 different Grand Prix, not every track of the current confirmed 29, not counting this Rainbow Road, are used in the Grand Prix. If there are 7 current cups before Special Cup, 4 tracks per cup, 4 times 7 is 27. Yet we have 29 tracks we can count on the map before Rainbow Road, and if you account for the fact that Crown City is used twice, then that's 30 races for just 28 spots. And so while yes, obviously Rainbow Road is going to be part of Special Cup, you might think that they would want to include some of these other tracks in the final Special Cup if they have not been used for any Grand Prix Cup. What might those tracks be? Well, looking at where Rainbow Road would be and the tracks surrounding it, all of them we know have been used in Grand Prix already. And so that's where the counter argument starts to break down. This Grand Prix would have to start very far out or be reusing a lot of other tracks. And also, from what we've seen of Knockout Tour, we've seen all 8 cups, Rainbow Road is not there. So it's already been established that some tracks will not be in Knockout Tour, so by extension perhaps, it could go the other way around as well. So I still find myself leaning in this direction that Rainbow Road and Special Cup are going to be doing something a bit bigger and grander than usual. Let's now break down how exactly this Special Cup, including Rainbow Road, could go though. So during the direct, when they are teasing this Rainbow Road, they are showing the trophy fly into Peaches Stadium and we see the colors coming down from the sky. I would not be surprised if this Grand Prix Special Cup starts at Peaches Stadium and ends with Rainbow Road. And actually, when we take a look at the Shell Cup, the path that leads to Peaches Stadium at the end of that Grand Prix, it comes in diagonally from Crown City. But looking at the map, we see how there's almost like a little bit of a mini bay or moat extending out into the bigger bay. And there's even like some islands that almost like look like they're creating a path or lining up with where Rainbow Road would be. So I would not be surprised if Special Cup starts from the beginning of Peaches Castle, Peaches Stadium. You drive through down the water, and that leads into this entrance to Rainbow Road, which, by the way, when we look at the leak from Nintendo of Korea, it does look like there's an entrance from the water. And so you start driving up the Rainbow Road, and this might be a more spectacular, grander sequence of races, as we've been alluding to throughout this entire video. And it might not just be a standard Rainbow Road. Like, I think the very last race of the 4 for this Grand Prix will literally be Rainbow Road, but the first 3 are going to be about us getting to the Rainbow Road. And I don't think starting from Peach's Castle, getting into the middle of the bay, where we'd be entering the beginning of this Rainbow Road sequence, would be more than just one race. Possibly 2, if we account for the entrance as well. But the point is, this Special Cup, this special track that we have not seen before, will likely span at least 2 races, if not more. And so I imagine as we're climbing up higher and higher above the rest of Mario Kart's world, we're going to see some spectacular things. And actually, something else I noticed to further back up this theory as I was editing, if you look at that quick little tease Nintendo provided during the direct, that last little scene shows us leaving Peach's Castle from the perspective of Peach's Castle, heading towards the bay where we have the giant bridge where Rainbow Road would be appearing, and we see the 2 little islands I think we'd be driving through. So to me it seems very obvious that this is going to be the beginning of the Special Cup. But what do you all think? What do you make of this special final track that Nintendo teased? Is it going to be part of the Special Cup that's still missing from this game? Is Special Cup going to be a bigger, grander deal? Are they going to do something new, or are they going to simply remix other tracks we've seen throughout the map? Let me know in the comments below. This is AndresRestart. Thank you so much for listening and watching, and I'll see you all really soon. Take care. Bye.